Hey guys, this is SunsFan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Slark. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Slark is a melee agility hero who is known best for being able to escape certain death as well as his innate ability to regenerate at a ridiculous pace. He is considered a semi-carry that can typically take over in mid-game, although his potential to snowball out of control should not be underestimated. There are two basic ways to build Slark, and much of it revolves around your playstyle. You have the choice of either maxing out Dark Pact or Pounce first. While maxing Dark Pact first will give you more damage, it will also make you very squishy, so if you're the type of player that enjoys overextending a bit, it is not recommended. In addition to this, you will need an additional teammate with some lockdown if you want to gank full HP targets early on. The second build is maxing Pounce first, and this is the build we will be focusing on. In both cases, however, you want to take Pounce at level 1, so you have the ability to escape or ensure a first blood opportunity. So if you're maxing out Pounce first, what exactly do you max second? Well, you'll definitely want to max Dark Pact second, but it's usually a good idea to have one level of your passive Essence Shift early on. We recommend it at 4, but you can always swap places at 2 with Dark Pact if you feel the need. Your ultimate is taken at the standard 6, 11, and 16. With this build, you have less magical damage early on, but you won't lose as much health when you gank. In addition to being a little bit more safe, you'll still have better chasing potential early on. Also keep in mind that this build is quite flexible. If you're in an easy lane against a melee opponent, putting more points into Essence Shift might be a great idea. You just need to build for how your lane is set up. Starting items depend on the lane you want to go to. If you take the mid lane, as is most common, go for a Tango and 3 branches so you can get your bottle up as soon as possible. If, however, you're going to a side lane, you want to add a Salve and a Stout Shield for more survivability. After that, get yourself an Orb of Venom, boots, and an upgraded magic wand at your earliest convenience. Upgraded boots of choice will be Power Treads. They not only provide you with attack speed, which you badly need, but also some survivability in the form of stats. Some professionals opt for Phase boots instead of treads, as they will allow you to get closer in order to land more reliable leaps. Overall, it's much more common to get treads, but it's still player preference. And although it's a very important item in general, make sure you always carry a TP on Slark, as he can take advantage of one better than most heroes. After that, a Drum of Endurance will work wonders for you. It'll increase everything you're in need of: attack speed, movement speed, survivability, and even mana capacity. From here, things free up a little bit. If you're up against a lot of magical damage and stuns, you'll want to get a BKB as soon as possible. In addition to this, a Basher really works well for ganking and fighting. Don't forget that it gives you good survivability stats, making it a really efficient item for Slark. And although it's not recommended on a lot of heroes, a Sage and Yasha is a very safe item as it gives both survivability and damage. Plus you have the option of breaking them apart to build a Manta and Heaven's Halberd, both of which work very well on Slark. Also, an Armlet of Mordigian could be considered here since your regeneration is absolutely off the charts. Into the realm of luxury and situational items, turning your Orb of Venom into an Eye of Skadi is a great idea. It gives amazing stats and a really good slow. A Butterfly will do wonders for your tankiness against hard hitters, and will in addition increase your damage as well. You can also upgrade your Basher into an Abyssal Blade to get massive damage and a guaranteed stun. Aside from that, any DPS items such as a Monkey King Bar, Desolator, or even Daedalus can be viable choices. Slark is mostly played as a ganking semi-carry. For this reason, the mid lane suits him quite well since he'll get his level 6 really fast. That's not the only reason mid lane is perfect for him, because thanks to his Dark Pact to push the waves and his Pounce to get around, he can rune control like a beast. You do, however, work pretty well in a dual lane as well, especially when coupled with a stunner. Sharing experience early shouldn't affect your playstyle though. Once you've hit 6, you can still run around killing squishy targets whenever you please. Now when speaking about his skills, remember that Dark Pact will remove negative buffs, so if you see a projectile stun coming, then be sure to pop it since you'll be disabled for a shorter amount of time. This skill is the reason Dust is not very useful against you, since you can just purge it off after a few seconds. Also, when you're starting your ganking rampage, as you go back and forth through the jungle, feel free to spam Dark Pact on neutrals to gain extra gold and experience. This will make ganks less risky as you're at least gaining something regardless. At the same time, use some common sense and make sure you still have enough mana for the actual gank. We've talked about Pounce at length as a getaway and initiation, so there isn't too much to go over. Just remember that you can jump through terrain and that the AoE on the latch itself is quite small, so you'll have to aim it well if you want to catch a hero. Also, blinking heroes will not have much of an issue getting away from you. so be sure to focus targets you're sure you can take down. Essence Shift is quite possibly your most important skill. If you take an early level of it, you can easily steal 19 HP from each hit to your target. So if the enemy overextends, immediately go for him, since in all likelihood it's an easy kill. This of course is where most of your damage will be coming from in the mid stages of the game. Once you've played Slark, you'll notice that he can be very squishy, which is why there are so many tanky items or hybrid tanky items you need to focus on getting. So until you're ready to start purchasing some hard DPS items, rely on Essence Shift to be your right click damage. Even if you're not doing that well, if you have the opportunity to steal stats from a hero who's mana starved, such as an Earthshaker, then take advantage of it. Shadow Dance is one of the reasons you can be so aggressive early despite your squishiness. It allows you to regenerate at an insane rate when out of sight. This is also a great way to know when your opponents have wards, as the passive effects you gain will suddenly stop the instant you're seen. And we haven't even touched on the passive move speed bonus that's given, which aids quite a bit in your trips from lane to lane. But when talking about the active component, which is essentially a 5.5 second invisibility, you'll have to take a couple notes. Opponents can of course see where you are when you use this, they just can't target you without vision. This does mean that they'll be able to use AoE abilities on you with relative ease. Some people prefer using this as a free 5.5 second regeneration while in fights, since your massive regen will kick in. This can be very powerful if used correctly. But the general theme to Slark is the playstyle you must follow. We've talked about the early game, but the mid game shouldn't differ too much. This means that unless you have taken over the game completely, you should have a strike and back off mentality. This means take advantage of your high HP regeneration when out of fights. And into the late game, Slark will fall off a bit, but if you've gained a significant advantage to that point, then you can snowball to your heart's content. Basically every hero with a stun is your friend, since you can get the time to fit in the extra 2 auto attacks you need to kill your target, or at the very least steal more stats. A special mention does go out to Vengeful Spirit, since she not only has a stun with amazing damage, but also her Wave of Terror that lowers the armor of the enemy, which will therefore increase your damage. If you're able to be the one to initiate, then heroes like Lina and Leshrac will love you, since their stuns will be much easier to land. Other than that, every hero that can get you out of trouble is appreciated. Heroes like Treant Protector with his living armor, or Chen with his Hand of God are good examples. And lastly, heroes with massive disables will allow you to steal so much more stats. Examples of this are of course Enigma and Magnus. Most people would assume Slardar and Bounty Hunter would be great counters to Slark, but you can of course purge off their ultimates with ease. Burst damage is the name of the game when going up against a Slark. Heroes like Lion, Lina, and Zeus are examples of heroes that could burst you down. In addition to this, silences will prevent you from going invisible and thus being less effective. Examples of this are Bloodseeker, Night Stalker, and of course the counter to every hero in existence, Doom. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also a big thanks to Vekus and Purge for their help in writing this guide.